stop it. Please put everything that you see up on the screen in your notes. So pause it so you have time to write things down, and then unpause it, and we'll explain these problems. So 1.7, we're going to want to get this definition down. A function is a relation in which each element of the domain is paired with exactly one element of the range. So in other words, there's only one output for every input. So the way I think of it is a function does something to a number. So when you plug in an x, which is the domain, okay, domains are x's. Remember, range we talked about is y's. When you plug in one number x into a function, and a function just does something to a number, you get one number back. You can't plug in one x and get two different y values or two different outputs. So what we're going to focus on today is looking at different relations and determining are they functions or not functions. So pause this, please, and then just copy that down and let's talk about it. So we have two different mappings, and we're determining if one is a function and which one is not a function. So the one on the left, we have -4 goes to 9, has one answer. -1 goes to -6, one answer. 1 goes to -6, and 3 goes to 11. Each one of the x's only has one solution, and even though -1 and 1 both go to -6, that's okay. All right, this is a function. Function. However, take a look at the second mapping. Notice net 2 has answers of 6 and 7. And so that would make it not a function because we have two outputs for one input. So the direction is going to ask you to explain. So you would just say not a function. You have the number 2 has two outputs. Or you can say something like 2 has answers of 6 and 7, anything along those lines. But this is what you'll probably want to really make sure you have in your notes. It is not a function if one x goes to two different y values. I'd start that. That's really the key for all of this. Do you have an x going to two different y's? If you do, it's not a function. Other than that, it would be a function. So let's try a relation as in two tables. So we've got, take a minute, pause it, copy these two down, and take a look and see if you can think which ones are functions and which ones are not. Well, the one on the left, we've got 3 having an answer of -2, 6 have an answer of -1, 8 have an answer of 7, 4 has an answer of -2. This is definitely a function. But look at the one on the right. -3 has an answer of 6, 2 has an answer of 5, but here's another -3, and it has an answer of 1. So this is telling you right now, this is not a function. Because here the answer for -3 is 6, and now they're saying the answer for -3 is 1, and that's having two outputs for one input. So we'd say it's not a function. You only have to explain it if it's not a function. So we'd say it's not a function because we have -3 has two outputs. And let's take a look at these two sets of ordered pairs. One is a function, one's not. Write these two down. Let's take a look at them. Which one do you think is not a function? All right, if you guess the top one, you are correct. -4, it's not a function because here we're saying -4 goes to -3, and here -4 is going to 8. It's okay that we have repeating y values in these 8s here and here, but you can't have repeating x values there and there. So this would be not a function. It would be -4 has two outputs. For this one, -3 goes to 2, 7 goes to 6, 4 goes to -1. This is just a function. So then the other way that we have relations, they could be graphs as well. And the way we do graphs are vertical line tests, okay? So we'll have mappings, we can determine by tables, we've got ordered pairs like we just had, and then we have this vertical line test. And the way to do a vertical line test is if you ever draw a vertical line, remember those are the lines going up and down, and it hits more than one spot on the graph, it's not a function. So if it hits more than one. So if we draw a vertical line here, it only hits the graph once. Vertical line here only hits the graph once. Here, once, here, once. And there's no place we could draw a vertical line where it would hit more than once. This would be a function. But take a look at the one on the right. If I draw a vertical line here, it doesn't hit at all. If I draw a vertical line right along that y-axis, it only hits once right here. But notice when we start drawing vertical lines over here, it hits once here and once here. That means at this input at x, we have two outputs or two heights, here and here. That would make this not a function. And as far as the graphing ones, if you want to, this is called the vertical line test, or I just call it VLT, just abbreviate it. So we can just say it's not a function because it does not pass the vertical line test. So you can just say it fails VLT. That is a good explanation. If you're just looking at a graph, some teachers also call this the pencil test. So instead of drawing vertical lines, if you just take your pencil and hold it up in a graph, and you hold your pencil this way, you can see that it crosses once and twice. You take a look at these two graphs. This graph, once, it hits once, so far so good, it hits once here. But right here is kind of in question. What's happening here? And this, even though it looks like it hits here and here, this is an open circle, and remember what that means. That means that we get very close to that point, but never quite there. So this actually only hits at one spot, so this actually is a function. So it only hits right here, so this would be a function. And this little stair-step looking thing, well, it hits once here, it hits once here, and it hits once here. But what happens like here, where we draw here? Well, notice there's a point here. You could also have a point here, and a point here, and a point all up and down this line. So you have really an infinite amount of points in this area here. So because of that, you have a lot of points right there. That's more than one. So this would be definitely not a function. Any graph that you see that has a vertical line, it would not be a function because it would fail the vertical line test because it would hit multiple points along that vertical line. So it's not a function. Again, the reason fails VLT. So you have two things to work on. You will be getting a Desmos activity where I want you to go to desmos.com and complete that activity. It's just drawing four graphs and determine if it's a function or not. And then you'll have a worksheet as well to complete. It's page 43, 1 through 12. Numbers 10 through 12 give you gives you equations, and just plug those equations to Desmos. Take a look at the graph and determine function or not. So you don't have to explain it if it is not a function, if it is a function, but if it's not a function, just give me a quick reason why not. And I will go over everything when we come back to class on Monday.